To you by SKELEC. I am your host, Janisha Hendrickson, the Corporate Communications Officer at SKELEC. This morning, I have with me Mr. Colin Brown, the Control Operations and Protections Manager, and I have Mr. Javid Gilbert, the Control and Operations Superintendent. How are you both doing this morning?
Doing well, thank you.
Doing well, yes. Good morning.
Nice to have you back, Javid,
yes,
for your second time. And nice to have you as well, Mr. Brown, a very unfamiliar face. This morning we'll be discussing electrical safety. As you're aware, you cannot smell or hear electricity, so making sure you have the right systems in place to manage this hazardous energy is critical for your well-being. So my first question to you both, why is electrical safety important? Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Brown.
Okay. Yes, good morning. Electrical safety is important.
Okay, you can go ahead now.
Yes, electrical safety is important because it is a hazardous energy source. It can cause electric burn, electrocution, and harm you in different ways. So to carry out your work safely, to do things at your home in a safe manner, there are standards that we will later speak about that help us to protect us from being electrocuted.
Mr. Brown, you have anything to add?
What I would say, as Mr. Gilbert has said, electricity is hazardous, but as we all realize, electricity is pervasive. It's all around us. Mm-hmm. So while it is a hazardous thing and it is all around us, we have to know how to use it, mm-hmm. and particularly how to avoid the hazard of electricity.
Okay, thank you both for explaining why electrical safety is important. What are the basics for electrical safety?
Alright, I will respond to that question. So, basics of electrical safety, knowing how to use electricity safely, mm-hmm. right? And what to do when you have a malfunction or what we'll call an electrical fault. Mm-hmm. So, as Mr. Gilbert had said, there are standards for using electricity. An example of a standard is voltage level, type of plug, what areas you can and cannot use an appliance. If you violate those standards, you'll, as often as not, create an electrical fault. So the first part of electrical safety, how to use electricity in a proper manner, and then the second part of electrical safety, when something goes wrong, how do you respond?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Mr. Gilbert, do you have anything to add?
Yes, as Mr. Brown said, to add to that is also the way electricity comes to the customer. Mm-hmm. That in itself is a safety where that at our plant we transmit electricity at a kilovolts level, high voltage, and at the consumer we bring down that voltage, mm-hmm. to a lower level with the proper insulation, with the proper way to do the connections to the customer home, and then the private electrician will do their part to make that home safe and the customer can use electricity in that effort.
Okay, well, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Sylvester Francis, who has come to join us. He is also a Control and Operations Superintendent. Mr. Francis, how are you this morning?
I'm fine.
All right then. So as we continue, what is an example of an electrical safety checklist? Because if you, let's say for instance you're building a home or you're building your business or you bought a property, then you want to make sure that it is safe to do the necessaries. You want to make sure, okay, I don't want to plug up too much things and then cause a fire, electrical fire or explosion, unfortunately. So what is a electrical safety checklist?
Okay. Yes, a safety checklist is something that electricians, persons carry out on a daily basis. For example, we have to know the source of the power, how to isolate that power when we need to work on equipment, electrical equipment, electronics. Those are some of the basics. The other, if we have the right tools, because tools are important to carry out that job in a safe way. So those are some of the list. I think Mr. Brown could add a few more things here.
So when we speak of a safety checklist, I think it's useful at this point to make a distinction between a residential customer, a residential consumer, and, for example, persons like ourselves who work in the electricity utility. So you'll have different electrical safety checklists according to the person and what is their relationship to electricity. So for a homeowner or someone who lives in a home, a typical resident, they will have a checklist as to what things are to be in order in their home for their home to be safe electrically. I'll ask Mr. Francis to speak in more detail about what things a consumer should check for in their home, and then we can speak about some of the other types of electrical checklists after.
No problem.
So, Mr. Francis.
Most consumers, they could check the basic things like loose cords, broken outlets, damaged appliances like maybe a blender that is fallen off the counter a couple of times. You could tell from knowing these things, you could see them right offhand and know that they're unsafe. If the plug is burnt, cracked, maybe stretching, bent, those are things you gotta be careful of. There are quite some others, but every person in their house must know when the thing is good and when it's bad, or when it's wearing.
Yes. To add to that, Miss Hendrickson, like our standing fan, most of us have different ways to turn on the standing fan. We just give it a lash and the fan start to spin. You know, that in itself telling you that electrically there is something inefficient or not working properly, and that is a hazard which can cause fire. So when you have fans like that, you either not use it or have the professional person who can come and rectify the problem with the fan.
So it's a possibility the fan may have a short or something?
Yes, could have a short and it could cause, well, normally you have a short because if you're giving the fan back and it starts to spin, there's a problem there.
Well, I know I've seen persons, what they do, they just plug out the fan straight from the current without turning it off, and I know that can be a hazard as well. So, okay, so to continue, what is common PPE used for electrical safety? So in at SKELEC, when we have our guys that climb the lampposts or they may change the wiring, they have their protective gears, they call them the PPE, correct? Yes. So what are some common PPE used? It can be on the residential standpoint and also at SKELEC.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Gilbert.
Yes. Yes. There are different levels of PPE, personal protective equipments, and the domestic part of it, where the regular electrician would come in and do something in your house. He will normally have his rubber gloves, his proper shoes with that is insulated, and the different things that could protect him from electric arc or anything of that sort. Now, and the linesman, more industrial part of it, on our level, we have FR clothing like what I'm wearing here. if our clothing are clothing that basically made out of 100% natural fiber. There is nothing synthetic about it. Those are the clothing that we practice. Those are the standard. The next thing, when the linesman go up with his bed, he have his safety bed, he have his linear, he have his super squeeze. Those are added stuff to protect him. He have the proper spike boots if he have to climb. If he's a spike man going up the pole, there are different levels to, as I said, to PPE and what it used for, according to the job.
All right then, Mr. Brown or Mr. Francis, you have anything to add?
I will just add one thing to that. PPE, the personal means personal. And you are responsible for your own gears and your own safety. So that is something I would like to stress on. Okay.
All right then. So let's continue. What are electrical safety devices? Because as an electrician, a skilled electrician, you will not just go to a job and just start fixing wires one time. You will have to evaluate and have the necessary tools to check the voltage and all the necessaries that needs to be done. So what are some of these tools that you guys use or electricians use?
There are variety. So again, we'll make a distinction between what will be found in the home, because there are electrical safety devices in the home to let the consumer be aware that there's a problem. Most common, your breaker, your ground fault, circuit interrupter, which is those particular type of outlets. Instead of a regular outlet, it'll have a feature when there's a fault on it. It pops out. A red tab most usually pops out and says it kills power to the outlet, and it says you have a fault here. You have to push it back in and reset it to get back power. You have your voltage testers that you can plug into your outlet to make sure your house is wired properly. Ensure you don't have what we call a line fault or earth fault. Make sure your outlet is grounded properly. So those are electrical safety devices in the home. One caution I would make before we speak to some of those that we have in the utility. A common practice, a safety check as well, but something we should check on our safety list, but a common practice some consumers have a habit is that when a breaker trip or an outlet trips, they reset it, and once it resets, they go on with whatever they were doing. When a breaker trip or an outlet trip, it's an indication that there's a problem. There's an overload, or there's a short, or there's a malfunctioning breaker or receptacle, an outlet. And we ask that customers don't ignore it. When you have a breaker trip, call in an electrician and have them make an assessment to see what is causing it to trip, because if everything is working as it should and as the electrician installed it, nothing should be tripping. I'll have Mr. Francis and Mr. Gilbert speak to some of the safety equipment we have out as SKELEC that we have out there.
Okay.
Yes, some of the safety equipments that we have at SKELEC, this is not the normal resident voltage that we work with. We work with high voltage. So we have detectors that we attach to our hot stick, disconnecting telescope, that we take up to the line to check before we turn off the power that voltage is present, and after we turn off the power that voltage is no longer there. Those are some of the indicators. Also, we have switch gears in the field that could lend us indicate to us that there are presence of voltage in a particular circuit. So those are higher level, not the normal daily equipment that you will see in your resident home or at certain commercial or industrial level. These technologies is up there.
Mr. Francis?
Yes, we also have on the lines what we call fault indicators. That when we get response from a call, we show up, we look up the lines, there are the indicators hanging on the lines, which indicates, well, the fault is this direction or that direction. that will cut down on the hunting around, trying to find where exactly to pinpoint where the fault is. So that is one, and then there's another one we have within the substation, which is on the leg of the switch gears, to indicate to us if it's a ground fault or just a line-to-line fault, which is very much help. That we cut down.
So that cut down the outage time, so
Beautiful.
we're able to put on the current faster.
Yes.
Alright then. Well, thank you for letting us know, so the consumers are aware when we take your current to do any maintenance, or unfortunately there's an emergency outage, we have the proper equipment now, and as technology evolves, we're able to turn on your current quicker because we're able to find the fault. So as we continue the discussion, what are electrical safety measures? Because some persons may see, as Mr. Brown said, the breaker may trip, and someone may just push it in and think, well, it's normal. Or you may have a loose wire just hanging, and they work out like it's not troubling me in any way, so I don't need to study it or anything, which is unsafe. So what are some measures for electrical safety?
First measure, I think it's fundamental. When an electrical device is not operating as designed or intended, don't use it. You smile, Miss Hendrickson. so if you have to hit it twice for it to start up, if first time you turn on the switch, it don't come, and you turn it off and turn it on again, and over time you go from 2 turn on to 3 turn on to 4 turn on to get it to work, the device is failing and it is not operating as intended, and it is a hazard there, but it just has not it just has not failed in a catastrophic manner. It hasn't caught a fire yet, it hasn't burnt or blown up. So every electrical device, an outlet, drop cord, an appliance, has an intended use. It has how it should be used properly and how it should function properly. Once you observe that it's not working as intended, it's not working as good as it used to work, your fridge not cooling as cool as it used to cool, then it's a sign that something is malfunctioning. A break in your house that didn't used to trip is starting to trip. You didn't realize it, that when they put on the bedroom, they put the whole new bedroom on one circuit because they cut corners. So you find now when you turn on your water heater in your bedroom, in your bathroom, the breaker trips. Anytime something is not operating as it's supposed to or it's used to, don't continue using it in a misoperating way. Report it to an electrician and get some advice and guidance about it. I think that is the first safety measure. Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Francis, back me up, please.
Yes, to back up on what Mr. Brown have said, those are basic steps. Mr. Brown have basically brought everything. We have to know what the circuit that we operating, what we use. So the safety measures, like going back to our home, because most of the listeners are domestic users. If you recognize that your breaker is just tripping, there's something wrong on that particular circuit. So call your electrician. Know the rating. Some of the things that we need to know the rating of our different breakers, because we might put a water heater and a lighting circuit, which in the lighting circuit is not rated to carry such load. Normally we would use, Mr. Francis, a 20 ampere 30 ampere and a lighting circuit. The water heater would need maybe 42, depending on the load of its size of water heater. So it's to know the size of equipment, the equipment ratings, if the conductors can carry that load. So Francis, can you?
Just two things. In the circuit breakers, you can't overload or undersize them. And then there's another issue which we have here, everybody goes out now to get the flat screen TVs and to put in the houses. But when they go to the hardware, they don't ask for the protection for the TV. Most of them go out and they pick up the normal strip bar, which is used for power tools, not appliances. They don't go and get the specified
surge protector.
surge protectors, which have the chipping. It sends anything out the way it chips out and have protection for your appliance. With the normal strip bar goes out, you don't have that. And another thing is they need to check, make sure the polarity is right within the house itself before installing these new fridge, microwaves and all those new things, modern household appliances.
Yes, like again, like sometimes you go to your standing fridge, you touch it, you recognize you get a shock. That could be an earthing issue. Call your electrician, let they check the earthing, because you have your landscape person coming in to cut the yard and they accidentally cut the wire. They see it, they do not report it. A week after you recognize you being getting shocked, the whole place become a hazard. So these are things that to look out for. Know where your earthing wire are. To be educated is very important when it comes to electricity, because as you said, it is a modern source to supply our modern society. So we need to follow these normal practices.
So my question to you all as electrical professions, what time frame would you suggest a homeowner or someone that lives at a residence or rental, what time frame would you suggest that they have an electrician routinely come to the home and check to make sure everything is going right? Would you suggest that they do it when they start to see signs, or would you say every 6 months, every year should the electrician come, just off the back?
Yes, there are standards to that, like the wiring of the home. The wires that normally, under normal circumstance, when you wire a house, it should last for at least 20 years without, you turn your back on it to say. Insulation should operate once you use the circuit as it is designed. When you're adding, as Mr. Brown pointed out, when you're adding additional bedroom, bathroom, a master bathroom, or upstairs, electrician should be involved for those things. Mr. Brown, anything?
Mr. Francis.
Even when you add in a new refrigerator for the Christmas season, or you buy a new laptop, whatever you're using, it's best to get electricals checked out again one more time before you apply that to use.
So whenever you're adding anything to the home, I guess you should have a conversation with the electrician to make sure you have enough electricity coming to the home and make sure it's safe enough and you have the proper surge protector, because we don't want electricity to go and then you have a damaged appliance.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll pause this time, and we have any callers?
Well, now that you've indicated that, let's open the lines. 465-2555. Let's take our first call. Good morning, you're live.
Good morning, caller.
Good morning, electricians and Mr. JQ. I have some concern and I got some questions. First one, you all say wire your house, right? A certain size of wire you said to buy to get to the house. But when SKELEC come now to put on the wire from the post to the house, it's smaller than what coming out the house. So I go rectify that, because I had mine change just the other day, because they were very expensive, and when I come now I put in some small wire in the houses. Second thing, why is it we don't get to like a little modernize? Every house now building, you got to get a transformer. Well, while you're from England, you got to get a transformer. So I suggested if we can go to like just like how the street current for England, if we can't get it 110.2 from the source, from the appliances. Yeah. That's my little input for today. I listen up here.
Thank you very much for calling, caller, and thank you very much for your suggestion. We'll have one of our men answer your question, or we're going to have all the questions first and then answer.
Let's have all the questions first.
Okay, no problem.
Well, we don't have any more calls at the moment, so I'll indicate to you in video.
Okay, thank you.
You want to respond to the main service size,
Yeah.
Mr. Francis?
Yes, the normal size service line we use is a 16 millimeter. The wire that is more than adequate for most of the residential houses, unless that houses now is size like a condo or hotel or something like that, where now we move to like the cables. We have different sizes in cables, but most consumers will have a 25 millimeter mains coming out, and yes, we coming with our normal 16. It looks funny, and that is something that most consumers will complain about. But it all depends on when they got to apply for the power, and what area it is again will indicate to us, well, we can't use this or we can't use that, and we recommend that you go to the underground where we have a bigger line coming to your house. And once it is the normal overhead, the biggest we have the 16 millimeter. We can, there's not as we use towards that.
So just to clarify, it all depends on what the consumer will tell customer service when they come in and apply, and also what the electrician will communicate to SKELEC when they come in to sign and do the necessaries. Okay, Mr. Gilbert, you have anything to add?
Yes, as Mr. Francis said, electrician will have a discussion with you, and he would say that get a 25 millimeter, which in, you know, we do a lot of load checks, and the regular consumer would not be rated to that level of supply demand. So 16 from SKELEC purview to a normal customer, a domestic 16 millimeter is efficient. There are also 16 millimeter that TDC has for the sells any other electrical company, utility business that sells electrical stuff of a 16 millimeter. So you could have that discussion with your consumer, with your electrician, I must say, sorry, about if 25 millimeter is necessary. Why cannot you 16 millimeter? Because this is a normal house. This is just a 3-bedroom house. You know, that's what I could say.
Well, it is important to have a conversation with the electrician, and also, for instance, just to add with what you said earlier, when you mentioned about adding to your home as well, let's say for instance SKELEC gives you a 16 and your electrician suggests a 25 coming from the home, and you add to the home, then it's best to have a conversation with your electrician, so we can see on SKELEC and if we need to up the wire, or as Mr. Francis mentioned, if you have to go underground, if you need more supply.
Anything bigger.
Anything bigger. Okay.
All right, we have a call on hold.
Okay. Morning, caller.
Hello, good morning, and how are you?
I'm fine, and you?
And I'm great, I'm alive, giving thanks. I'm listening to the program attentively, and the advice that you all are giving is very educational. For me, I fear electricity, bad. It's not maybe about it, so I always believe in communicating with the right personnel, especially when it comes around electricity. And I totally agree with the suggestion, especially if you have a home and you're doing some addition, is to get the best advice and get somebody who is certified. Because I think some persons, they know about electricity, but they are not certified. So the best thing is to communicate with a certified electrician, and also we have SKELEC, the personnel who are very good in that field, and you can get the best advice. Electricity is not something to play with. In the twinkle of an eye, it can turn into big disaster. So this program is very timely, and I'm listening attentively, and I myself is being educated by what you all are saying. So continue the great job. Thank you all for listening. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, Carlo.
Well, we have some more callers. I will take these last two, and then I'll let you guys wrap up.
Morning, Carlo.
Hi, good morning. I'm calling from Curtis Pass to Tabernacle. There's a lamp post that is outside of my house. It was marked, it was sprayed with bad over a year ago. That means the pole is good. Up late I noticed the light goes off, and every time the light goes off, it's like the bulb is cracking. But yesterday there's a backhoe that parked up part of the road, and they actually touching the line that is leading from the post to my house. Could somebody please come and check it for me? I'll be thankful. I'm living at Curtis Pasture, down the road by the school, and I'm very concerned. I don't even have a light outside of my house. But the backhoe, what is touching the line, that is my concern. Could you all please check it for me?
Thank you very much for calling, Carlo. GQ, is it possible you can take our information off air?
Oh, I'm sorry. I already hung up the phone.
Okay then.
I was getting ready for the next
most of the
call.
information,
Yeah,
so we'll
okay.
be sure to get in contact with you, Carl, and come on out and see what we can do.
All right, so a final call for the morning.
Morning, Carlo.
Yeah, I'm back again. I'm glad to hear what the gentleman said about the 16. But he have some posts here, some posts here really Newton ground. This man on 16. So I don't know if you need to come check them or what, but this man on 16 because mine it's man on 16. That way I had Mr. Botilbone could check them, and he done do about 4 of them. And I have more here still. And they got a post by me. I report it about 4 years now. Rotten to the bottom. One man tell me, well, SKELEC come not there like pay money, so wait till he fall upon my house. So me not understand that. Cause he come put in a post order, show him the post. He said me with this post down right now to the bottom. And the man not come back. He really chuck everything. So please, in Newton Ground, the name is Marpo Anthony Woods, 465-50-76. That's my number. Get me anytime. Just ask anybody for me. Post right by my house. So he said, well, maybe SKELEC like to pay money.
Carla, is it possible you can repeat your contact, please?
465-50-76. Newton Ground. Marpo.
Thank you very much for calling, Carla. We'll be sure to come on out and rectify the matter. And thank you very much for your suggestion earlier. We do appreciate your concerns and your queries. So, in wrapping up, we'd like to thank all our callers once again for calling and for giving us their best wishes and their suggestions. And those callers that called with concerns in Tabernacle and Newton Ground, we'll be sure to come on out and rectify the matter, because your safety is our #1 priority. Mr. Francis, Mr. Brown, Mr. Gilbert, do you have anything to close with at this time?
Yes, to answer one part of the question the first caller brought in terms of the 120 volts, we have to look at the infrastructure, the costs, and the laws that I think that is in place generally. Normally, customers who will ask for these 120 240 120 voltage would be private developers. We have to stick to what the normal government
The
standards, which are 240 400 between phase voltage. It's a matter of investment and changing up certain standards to get these things online.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Brown, Mr. Francis. Anything to add as we wrap up?
Yes, I would just like to apologize to the public for the smaller lines that are smaller than the 16 millimeter.
Yes.
That is the work in progress, which we have already started in certain areas to getting them removed. So once again, yes, we will get a sort out in a timely manner, That is us too.
Alright, thank you. Mr. Brown, anything as we close?
Well, first of all, thank you, Miss Hendrickson, for having us here this morning and having the conversation on electrical safety. There are many other aspects of electrical safety that we did not have an opportunity to touch on.
We have a part two.
We have a part two. But to the listeners and to the general public, in every aspect and all aspects, treat electricity with care and with caution. We often ask the general public and the customers when we have accidents on the road to treat down conductors with caution and care. Do not interfere, report it. Our general infrastructure throughout the island, underground or overhead, if you see sparking wires, you see smoke, you hear something, a popping sound, a crackling sound, our emergency hotline is 465-2013 or 600 from your phone, and we are there 24 hours a day to assist the public. So, as well as problems generally on our electrical network, if you have a problem in your home, you smell something, your lights are flickering, Miss Hendrickson spoke about damaged appliance. I won't speak to that right now. But any and all concern with electricity in your home, your electricity supply, you're welcome, you're encouraged. Give us a call at our fault hotline, and even if it is not directly a SKELEC issue, we'll advise you turn off your main switch. You seem to be suffering from low voltage, you seem to have a malfunctioning appliance in your home, and we'll advise you in the interest of safety. So thank you to the callers who called in, and thank you again, Miss. I often remind myself to do this to all our hard-working ladies and gentlemen in the control and operation division at SKELEC and at SKELEC as a whole. Thank you for your diligent work and your commitment. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming, and we like to thank our listeners for listening, and we do hope that you have a wonderful day today. Thank you.
Thank you again. I often remind myself to do this to all our hard work.